At 6 in the morning, before the first salesperson arrives, you walk across your new dealership. There are 265 vehicles on the property. At an average inventory cost of roughly $45,000, the metal sitting around you represents almost $12 million. For about 10 seconds, it feels like wealth. Then, your controller shows you the floor plan statement. Most of the new vehicles were not purchased with cash you had sitting in a checking account. They were financed. Every financed vehicle has a balance. Every balance can carry interest. And every day, a slow-selling car remains on your lot. The clock keeps running. The car can become older without moving. A new model year can arrive. The manufacturer can add an incentive that changes the price customers expect. A competing dealer can discount the same vehicle. And under the terms of your floor plan facility, the advance tied to that vehicle must be repaid promptly after the sale. That is the first mistake people make about this business. They see hundreds of cars and think they are looking at assets. You see hundreds of individual deadlines. But the stranger part is what happens after one of those deadlines is resolved. You sell a $52,000 new vehicle. The customer sees a $52,000 purchase. Your accounting system may see only a few $1,000s of vehicle gross profit. Then the same transaction reaches the finance office. A lender may pay the dealership for arranging the loan. The customer may purchase a voluntary protection product. The trade-in becomes another unit you can recondition and sell. Months later, the service department can earn from maintenance, warranty work, repairs, and parts. One customer can touch 5 departments before the relationship is finished. In AutoNation's same-store results for 2025, new vehicles produced almost half of revenue, but only about 13.5% of gross profit. Parts and service produced less than 1/5 of revenue and nearly half of gross profit. Finance and insurance produced just over 5% of revenue and almost 30% of gross profit. That does not mean every dealership has the same mix. It means the biggest number on the customer's invoice is not necessarily the biggest source of dealership economics. Today, you are going to buy one single brand franchised dealership in a mid-sized American market. We will choose between 3 realistic ways of entering the business. We will calculate what you actually buy when the manufacturer still controls the name on the building. We will follow one customer through the vehicle sale, finance office, trade-in, reconditioning, and service lane. Then we will build one illustrative dealership that generates almost $75 million of annual revenue. And we will see why that enormous top line can leave the owner with less than $2 million before taxes, major capital spending, and acquisition debt. Finally, we will compare 2 outcomes. In the first, inventory turns and the customer returns. In the second, the lot slows down while the debt keeps moving. By the end, the parking lot will look exactly the same. But you will no longer see 265 cars. You will see borrowed inventory feeding a machine built around one scarce asset, the customer relationship. There are 3 businesses people casually call a car dealership. They can look similar from the highway. They are not the same investment. The first path is an independent used car operation. You do not need permission from an automaker to sell one brand's new vehicles. You source inventory from trade-ins, consumers, auctions, wholesalers, and other dealers. You control the mix. You can stock a 10-year-old pickup, a 3-year-old luxury sedan, and an inexpensive commuter car on the same row. That freedom is valuable. But you do not receive a protected new vehicle franchise, factory warranty work, manufacturer advertising support, or a predictable stream of lease returns tied to one brand. Your core skill is buying. If you overpay at auction, miss structural damage, underestimate reconditioning, or stock the wrong price points, the mistake is already inside the car before the customer arrives. A small lot can begin with far less capital than a full new car franchise, but it remains inventory heavy, reputation sensitive, and exposed to wholesale price movement. And if you finance higher-risk customers directly, you have added another business: servicing consumer credit and absorbing defaults. The second path is the store most people imagine. One manufacturer's sign. New vehicles in front. Used vehicles to the side. A service drive behind the showroom. This model gives you access to new inventory, factory marketing, warranty and recall work, certified used programs, training systems, and a nationally recognized product. But you do not simply buy a building and hang the sign. The manufacturer must normally approve the ownership transfer. The franchise agreement can set performance expectations, brand standards, required tools, training, reporting systems, and facility demands. You are an independent business owner operating inside someone else's product system. This is the model we will follow. The third path is a dealer group. Several franchises, several brands, a centralized office, shared advertising, a larger used vehicle network, more places to send a trade-in that does not fit the store where it arrived. Scale can improve data, management depth, and inventory movement. It can also multiply debt, integration problems, and exposure to a weak region. Penske Automotive Group generated about $31.8 billion of revenue in 2025 across automotive retail, commercial trucks, and distribution. Its retail automotive operation included hundreds of franchise dealerships worldwide. That is not one owner working the Saturday desk. It is an institution. So for the rest of this episode, you are not building a national group. You are acquiring one established franchised store. The price may be large, but the harder question is not how many cars it sells. It is what part of the business you are actually allowed to own. Suppose the dealership has been operating for 20 years. The seller owns the operating company. A separate entity owns the real estate. The store sells a respected import brand. It has a stable service customer base and a history of about 1,600 retail vehicle sales per year. The purchase price is not one number. It is several different assets stacked together. First, there is the real estate, or a long-term lease if the property is retained by the seller. Second, there are lifts, diagnostic tools, computers, parts inventory, shop equipment, and other operating assets. Third, there is working capital. Payroll begins immediately. Advertising begins immediately. Utilities, insurance, and software begin immediately. The business does not wait for your first profitable month. Fourth, there is vehicle inventory. New inventory is often financed separately through floor plan facilities rather than paid entirely through the acquisition price. Used inventory must still be purchased, valued, and reconciled unit by unit. Fifth, there is goodwill. Dealers often call the franchise-related premium blue sky. It is the amount paid above identifiable, tangible net assets for the earning power, local position, operating history, workforce, and franchise opportunities surrounding the store. That premium can be worth more than the furniture, signs, and shop tools combined. But here is the complication. The seller cannot always transfer the most valuable relationship by simply signing your name onto a contract. The manufacturer normally has approval rights over the new owner. It may examine your experience, financial capacity, proposed management team, and capital structure. State franchise laws can constrain what manufacturers may do, but the exact process varies. You are buying an operating business whose defining supplier must agree that you are qualified to operate it. And the manufacturer relationship is not the only relationship embedded in the purchase. You also inherit lender connections, service contract providers, software systems, employee compensation plans, customer data, warranty receivables, open repair orders, and prepaid service commitments. A customer may have purchased a vehicle from the old owner 3 years ago. the manufacturer still expects your service department to support it. An unresolved problem does not disappear because the acquisition closed on Friday. This changes how you investigate the store before buying it. A beautiful showroom cannot compensate for weak technician retention, poor customer return rates, aging inventory, or a service department that cannot schedule work for weeks. The cars can be moved. The real business is the network of permissions, people, systems, and repeat transactions surrounding them. And before that network produces $1 for you, it has to be funded. A dealership can produce astonishing revenue because the product is expensive. That also means ordinary operating decisions become capital decisions. Start with the building. A franchised store needs more than a retail showroom. It may require display space, customer delivery areas, a service drive, technician bays, part storage, secure key control, wash and detail capacity, charging equipment, customer lounges, and acres of paved inventory space. If the property is included in the acquisition, it may require millions of dollars of equity or mortgage debt. If it is leased, the rent does not disappear when sales slow. Then there is the service department. 22 bays need lifts, specialty tools, diagnostic subscriptions, waste handling, parts inventory, and technicians who can complete work accurately enough to avoid expensive comebacks. Then there is technology. The dealership management system connects accounting, inventory, repair orders, and transactions. A customer relationship platform tracks leads and appointments. Digital retail tools quote payments. Compliance systems retain documents. A cyber incident can interrupt sales, service, payroll, and reporting across the store at once. Then there is payroll. Salespeople may be paid through commissions and bonuses. Service advisors may be paid partly on performance. Technicians may be paid under systems tied to standardized labor times and completed work. Managers are expensive because mistakes in inventory, finance, compliance, or service can erase the savings from hiring someone cheaper. And then there is the lot. Assume your store normally holds 180 new vehicles at an average floor plan balance of $44,000. That is $7.92 million of new inventory financing. Add 85 used vehicles at an average cost of $26,000. That is another $2.21 million. Some used inventory may also be floor planned. Some may be funded with cash. The structure varies. But more than $10 million can be tied to vehicles before one customer arrives on Monday. Now assume a blended gross financing cost of 7% on an average $10.13 million inventory balance. That is roughly $709,000 per year, about $59,000 per month. The store may receive manufacturer floor plan assistance, credits, or other support. Later, our full model will use a lower net floor plan expense after that support. But gross carrying cost still explains the pressure. A fast-selling vehicle can generate vehicle gross, F&I, a trade, and a future service customer before the carrying cost becomes painful. A slow vehicle consumes interest, space, attention, and eventually, price. That gives you the first operating rule of the dealership. A car is not valuable because it is on your lot. It is valuable because you can convert it into the next transaction quickly enough. So now we need to answer the question the showroom avoids. Where does the money actually come from? A customer arrives in a 6-year-old SUV. She wants a new crossover. The new vehicle carries a retail price of $48,000. After negotiation and applicable incentives, the dealership records an illustrative $2,400 of front-end vehicle gross profit. That is the first business. Then the dealership appraises her trade at $17,000. The used car manager believes it can retail for $22,500 after reconditioning. The shop later finds it needs $1,700 of work. After detail, transport, and other direct costs, The expected used vehicle gross is smaller than the first appraisal suggested. That is the second business. Then the customer finances the new vehicle. The dealership arranges the loan and sells one voluntary protection product. Assume the F&I office generates $2,500 of gross profit, subject to possible future chargebacks. That is the third business. Then the service department maintains the new vehicle. Revenue may come from customer pay maintenance, manufacturer warranty work, recalls, repairs, and parts. That is the fourth business. Then the trade-in is sold to another customer. That second customer may also finance it, purchase a protection product, and return for service. That is the fifth business. The dealership did not earn one margin. It created a sequence. New vehicle gross, F&I gross, used vehicle opportunity, internal reconditioning work, parts demand, future customer pay service, potential warranty work, another retail transaction. The vehicle was the reason the sequence began. The value came from controlling enough of the sequence. This is why the largest revenue line does not tell you which department supports the store. In AutoNation's 2025 same-store results, new vehicles represented about 48.9% of revenue and 13.5% of gross profit. Used vehicles represented about 28.3% of revenue and 9.4% of gross profit. Parts and service represented about 17.5% of revenue and 47.6% of gross profit. Finance and insurance represented about 5.3% of revenue and 29.5% of gross profit. Parts, service, and F&I produced less than 23% of revenue. They produced more than 77% of gross profit. That is not owner profit. Payroll, rent, technology, interest, depreciation, and other expenses still follow, but it changes what you inspect before buying the store. You do not only ask how many vehicles it sold last year. You ask, how many customers financed through the dealership? How much F&I gross survived chargebacks? How quickly were trade-ins reconditioned? How many customers returned for service? How far out was the service schedule? How many productive technicians left? Because the transaction breaks easily. If the trade is appraised poorly, used gross disappears. If the finance office presents products irresponsibly, cancellations and compliance risk rise. If the service department cannot schedule the customer, the relationship leaves the building. If the new vehicle sits too long before the sale, floor plan cost erodes the front-end gross. The dealership is not one business with 5 departments. It is 5 businesses passing the same customer between them. And the handoff that most often limits the system is not the showroom. It is capacity after the sale. The service department can produce recurring, high gross profit work. That does not mean it can produce unlimited work. The scarce unit is technician capacity. A service bay without a qualified technician is painted concrete. A technician without the correct part is waiting payroll. A completed repair that returns because it was diagnosed incorrectly is not additional revenue. It is a comeback. And a customer who waits 3 weeks for an appointment may never become your repeat customer at all. Assume your dealership has 22 service bays. You employ 16 productive technicians across different skill levels. The department can generate strong output only if the entire chain works. Correct scheduling, accurate write-up, rapid diagnosis, available parts, authorization from the customer or manufacturer, efficient dispatch, quality control, and vehicle pickup. One missing component can make an expensive technician wait. Service also has several customers hiding inside one lane. There is the retail customer paying directly. There is the manufacturer paying under warranty. There is the used car department sending internal reconditioning work. There may also be collision work. Each source has different pricing, approval, and timing. A dealership can report a full service schedule and still disappoint everyone if the wrong work fills the calendar. Too much internal reconditioning can delay retail customers. Vehicles waiting on parts occupy space without producing completed labor. Warranty approvals can slow the process. This is why technician retention matters so much. A salesperson can learn the inventory and begin selling with support. A master technician may take years to develop and can leave with knowledge the building cannot replace quickly. Lose 4 technicians and you do not just save 4 salaries. You lose labor capacity, associated parts sales, appointment availability, and customer retention. The showroom can create a customer once. The service lane decides whether the store keeps that customer. Now suppose you solve the staffing problem. You hire the right people. You clear the backlog. You turn trade-ins quickly. You still cannot choose every new vehicle entering the lot. And you cannot independently decide every investment required of the building. The next constraint is not inside your payroll. It is the manufacturer. You own the operating company. You may own the land. You hire the employees. You sign the debt. But the manufacturer controls the new vehicles that make the franchise distinctive. That control appears in several places. The mix of vehicles matters more than the total count. 30 units of a slow configuration are not equal to 30 units of the model every customer wants. Allocation systems vary. Sales performance, market conditions, and brand strategy can influence what a dealer receives. When supply is tight, access to desirable vehicles becomes economic power. When supply is loose, unwanted inventory becomes carrying cost. Manufacturers can use customer rebates, dealer cash, volume objectives, and other programs to move vehicles. These programs can change the price a customer expects and the profit available on the same physical unit. A vehicle that looked correctly priced at the start of the month can require a different discount after the program changes. The building may carry your mortgage, but the brand can require specific appearance, signage, customer areas, tools, or upgrades under the governing agreement and applicable law. A profitable store can still face a multi-million-dollar renovation decision. The investment may improve the customer experience. It may also produce little direct incremental revenue. Manufacturers monitor sales, customer satisfaction, warranty work, training and operating standards. The exact measures differ, but the central tension is constant. You carry local capital risk inside a national product strategy you do not control. Electric vehicles make that tension more visible. A manufacturer may commit to new technology and require charging equipment, tools, or training. Local demand may develop at a different speed. You must prepare for the product strategy without knowing exactly how quickly your market will reward the investment. Franchise laws can give dealers significant protections against arbitrary termination or other manufacturer actions, but protection does not create independence. The dealer still needs vehicles, parts, warranty authorization, brand recognition, and factory support. That gives you the second operating rule. You own the customer-facing business. The manufacturer owns the product system that makes it a franchise. Now we can build the store and see whether the economics justify the price. You acquire one established import brand dealership in a mid-sized metropolitan area. The real estate is held separately and leased to the operating company. The store sells 900 new vehicles and 700 used vehicles per year. That is 1,600 retail units. About 4.4 vehicles per day averaged across the full calendar. 900 new vehicles. Average selling price, $47,000. Annual new vehicle revenue, $42.3 million. Assume average new vehicle gross profit of $2,400 per unit. Annual new vehicle gross profit, $2.16 million. 700 used vehicles. Average selling price, $28,000. Annual used vehicle revenue, $19.6 million. Assume average retail gross profit of $1,700 per unit after acquisition and direct vehicle cost before departmental operating expense. Annual used retail gross profit, $1.19 million. Add $150,000 of net wholesale gross from units that do not fit the retail lot. Total used gross profit, $1.34 million. 1,600 retail units. Assume average F&I gross profit of $2,300 per retail unit after routine expected chargebacks in the model. Annual F&I gross profit, $3.68 million. Assume the dealership generates $9.2 million of service and parts revenue. At a 47% departmental gross margin, that produces $4.32 million of gross profit before departmental and shared operating expenses. New vehicle revenue, $42.3 million. Used vehicle revenue, $19.6 million. F&I revenue, $3.68 million. Service and parts revenue, $9.2 million. Total modeled revenue, $74.78 million. Now calculate gross profit. New vehicles, $2.16 million. Used vehicles and wholesale, $1.34 million. F&I, $3.68 million. Service and parts, $4.32 million. Total gross profit, $11.5 million. That is a gross margin of about 15.4% on total modeled revenue. The dealership sold almost $75 million of products and services. It did not earn $75 million. It created $11.5 million to pay the store. Now subtract sales compensation, service and parts personnel, management payroll, advertising, occupancy, technology, insurance, utilities, training, professional fees, and other operating costs. Assume total selling, general, and administrative expense of $8.5 million. That leaves about $3 million before depreciation, floor plan interest, other interest, taxes, and major capital spending. Assume $320,000 of depreciation and amortization, $520,000 of net floor plan interest after manufacturer assistance and credits, and $220,000 of other interest. The result, before income tax, acquisition debt interest, principal repayment, and major capital spending, is $1.94 million. That is about 2.6% of revenue. Now, test the acquisition structure. This is not an appraisal. It is a financing scenario. Assume the operating company, goodwill, and required working capital demand $20 million, excluding real estate and vehicle floor plan balances. You contribute $8 million of equity. You borrow $12 million. At an illustrative 8% interest rate, annual acquisition interest is $960,000. The owner's pre-tax cash-style result falls from $1.94 million to about $984,000 before tax, before principal repayment, before a facility renovation, before one bad quarter. This is why dealership acquisition prices cannot be justified by revenue alone. You are not buying $75 million of sales. You are buying the durability of $11.5 million of gross profit and the operating system required to keep it. Now, there are two ways this ownership story can end. In the first outcome, the store does not need a miracle. It needs discipline. New inventory turns before heavy discounting. Used vehicles move through appraisal and reconditioning quickly. The finance office produces strong gross without creating excessive cancellations or compliance risk. The service department keeps technicians, fills appointments, and gives customers a reason to return. The modeled store produces $1.94 million before acquisition interest. After the illustrative $960,000 of acquisition interest, about $984,000 remains before tax, principal repayment, and major capital spending. That is not a spectacular return on a $75 million revenue business, but it can support debt reduction, reinvestment, and eventual owner distributions if performance remains consistent. The parking lot is large. The profit is not. The business works because the same customer creates more than one transaction. In the second outcome, annual retail sales fall 10%. New units decline from 900 to 810. Used units decline from 700 to 630. The store reacts too slowly. Average inventory rises because vehicles are not turning. The blended financing cost increases. Aging units require deeper discounts. New vehicle gross profit falls by roughly $621,000. Used and wholesale gross falls by about $280,000. F&I gross falls by roughly $368,000 because fewer vehicles reach the finance office. Service and parts initially decline only modestly because the installed customer base is larger than 1 year of sales. But then 4 productive technicians leave. Appointments move further out. Trade-in reconditioning slows. Some customer pay work leaves the building. The combined service, parts, and used vehicle impact adds approximately $399,000 of deterioration after estimated payroll savings. Some commissions and variable selling expenses fall with volume. Assume total expense savings of roughly $690,000 across the store. Even after those savings, the dealership's result before acquisition interest falls to roughly $370,000. Then the acquisition lender still collects $960,000 of annual interest. The owner is approximately $590,000 negative before tax and principal repayment. The store does not look dead. Customers still buy more than 1,400 vehicles. Repair orders still open every morning. Revenue still exceeds $65 million. But the debt and fixed operating structure were built for a faster machine. The dealership is not destroyed by one spectacular event. It is squeezed by several ordinary problems arriving together. Slower inventory, weaker front-end gross, fewer finance transactions, less service capacity, and debt that does not adjust quickly enough. The parking lot still looks rich. The carrying clock makes it poor. Walk across the lot again. The vehicles have not changed, but now the numbers attached to them have. The new car in the first row is a floor plan balance, an allocation decision, a potential front-end gross, an F&I opportunity, and the beginning of a service relationship. The trade-in near the shop is an appraisal decision, a reconditioning queue, a used vehicle margin, and another future customer. The empty service bay is not unused floor space. It is missing labor capacity, missing parts demand, and a customer who may not come back. The manufacturer's sign is not simply branding. It is permission, product access, standards, and dependence. And the $75 million of annual revenue is not the owner's income. It is an enormous flow of vehicle value passing through a thin operating margin. That is the final paradox. The dealership looks like one of the most asset-rich retail businesses in town. Hundreds of vehicles, acres of land, a glass showroom, millions of dollars changing hands. But the owner's real asset is not the metal. Metal becomes old. Metal requires financing. Metal can be discounted by the dealer across the street. The durable asset is the ability to bring the customer back through the same system. For financing, for a trade, for maintenance, for a repair, for the next vehicle. You thought you were buying a place that sells cars. You are buying a machine that borrows inventory to acquire customers. And if you cannot keep those customers after the sale, all you own is a very expensive parking lot.